All right, we are live everywhere.
Are we live? Everywhere, everywhere, everywhere.
Sean Watkins in the house. Eggs and coffee, you're up. Right on. Morning, Sean.
I can't see any of that stuff. I wish I could. Hey,
You can't see the comments?
oh, there we go. Yeah. Now I see.
You're seeing it?
I was on the private chat side. Just
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, hey, that means that we can send each
Oh, yeah,
other.
we're on.
Can Sean Watkins, would you weigh in and let me know if my microphone is loud enough? And also, is this my left hand to you guys, or am I backwards?
That would be your left, yeah. That's your left hand.
All right.
All right, yeah, cool. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? Hey, Don, Carrie's in the house. Nice to see you, Carrie.
Great.
Hi, Pippa. Hi, Chewy. It's another day. It's another week. Time feels like we're in a bit of a vortex. So this is actually this sort of weekly habit that we've slipped into is kind of given my week some shape, some much needed shape.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Jeff. Jeff, I haven't had a chance to respond to your email, but thank you so much for sending over all those pics of your beautiful bases. And Jeff is a builder out of Edmonton.
Oh,
and he's going to send me a fuzz pedal to try. And I'm very appreciative, very excited to check it out.
Mother heckin' F yeah.
Somebody will need to translate that for me. Neil, Frederick, Jim, Dallas. Come to Missouri when you can. Yeah, well, hell yeah. When there is traveling to be done, we will certainly be doing some.
Mm-hmm.
So the spirit and theme of this thing is me and Joe sort of catching up and shooting the breeze, and also getting questions from you guys. So if you have any questions, just type them right out in the comments, and we're really keen to sort of lead the discussion that way. We're just gonna sit here and shoot the breeze for like an hour or so. Question number one.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Dan Runyon. It's Goldie with Sorokin. He posted something about CTS pots and a Gold Les Paul looking guitar and tagged you. Yes. Yeah. Goldie is made by Alex Sorokin.
I'm slightly quieter than Joey. What does that
actually just be that I am too loud? So maybe because I'm like overcompensating for last week. So I'll turn my level down a little bit, and maybe everybody just like turn up your headphones or something.
Ooh. Goldie. We'll get the bounce. Yeah. Oh, what a beautiful guitar. Is it plugged in, Joe? Can we hear it?
It's not plugged in. Yeah, sorry. It's not at the moment, but.
Hello, Heather. Oh my goodness. Hi, Heather. Incredible singer here from Manitoba. Heather Forsyth goes by the name Soul James. Don, your music is getting me through this pandemic. Boys, hey, thank you for saying so. I'm glad that it's helping out. Jan Dirkson's in the house from St. Boniface. Here's a question. Pippa, I know it's hard to answer with COVID, but do you have plans to come back to UK? Yes, we do. In fact, the only tour dates that we have booked right now are for spring of 2022 in the UK. So don't tell anybody. Keep that under your hat. I mean, lots more details we need to iron out, but that is the next thing that we're sort of pointing at. Would be some touring in the spring of 2022, and starting with the UK and Europe. Yeah.
Dan clarified his question. He said, "No, is it currently with Sorokin?" I understand. No, it's not. It's not. I think that might have been an old video when I had him replace the electronics.
Goof.
Like 2018, maybe. But yeah, he and I geek over the VI pots.
Nice.
Yeah.
Question number 2. Alchemistical Adventures. What a name. Very strong. Joey, what strings do you use on your mule?
The red mule has string joist strings on it. and the new brown mule has a set of Bella flat wounds on it, which are really, really very cool strings.
The labellas, like the labellas.
Thank you. Yeah, labella. Yeah, I think they sort of make some custom sets for the mule folks.
Oh, badass.
Yeah. So, any new dad jokes? No, just the same one as I always have.
I like dad jokes. They're starting to feel real natural to me.
I mean, once you're dead, are they not just jokes then?
They just become jokes. Yeah, by virtue.
Yeah.
Joey, just a quick thank you for making me aware of Spruce Effects earlier this year. I've got a couple of pedals from their Americana range, and they are incredible. Dope.
Nice.
Way to go, Joe. Spread the word.
You know, do what I can. Do what I can. I like when I find pedals that I think are great, I like to tell people about it. I like pedals. You know, just like it. Alchemistical Adventure says, what gauge? I think the labellas are 17 to 64, maybe. They're strings that Matt kind of settled onto gauges, and they're a little unbalanced for my preference. So they're a little light on top and a little actually heavy on the bottom. So I don't know. You know, strings are a funny thing. Just mess around until you find something you really like.
And don't be afraid to switch too. Like drop, try just swapping out the treble side.
Life is an adventure.
Yeah.
An adventure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, except for right now, it's literally the most boring thing on the planet.
There's adventure in that too. There's zen in it. There's some zen in it. When is Joey due to be a father?
March 12th.
Oh yeah! I can't believe it. You guys are just into the third trimester, are you not?
We are, as of yesterday.
Oh my god, that's so exciting!
Yes.
Holy, I mean, this is feeling very, very real.
Oh my god, I'm now into the stage of fatherhood where I think it was like maybe Thursday morning or Wednesday morning. I woke up and was like, oh shit, this is happening. And when we found out that Anna was pregnant, it was like, this big lofty idea that was really hard to conceptualize. Like, oh my god, I'm going to be a dad. How exciting. But now that it's like we're months away, like when the baby kicks, I can see their foot, pushing on the belly. Anna actually grabbed it, like, oh man, there's a human being in there who's going to come out literally screaming and change my life forever. Woo! So I am excited, but like there is definitely like a bit of reality setting in, where like, oh yeah, right, nothing will ever be the same ever again.
Ever again. Ever even remotely the same ever again.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah. Somebody says, get your sleep now. I'll do my best.
There's it's nobody prepared me for just how crazy the sleeping is.
Yeah.
Yan's asking, when will the new album hit us? That's a great question. I have no answer to.
Yeah, we're working away. We've been working away on it, but we're in a pretty significant lockdown right now. So Dave and I are not able to be in the same room. So we just got to wait it out.
Aside from the odd phone call, this is actually some of the most conversing that we get a chance to do throughout the week. This is actually us catching up and hanging out.
Yeah.
In real time. We're doing it all together. I like this question. Hey there.
Do you have any New Year's resolutions, David?
I don't. My wife is so good at that. Roberta sets goals pretty much. I mean, going back as many years as I can remember, she's always used this time of year to sort of reflect on the previous year. She sets goals for herself every year, and pretty consistently hits most or all of them. It's like they're ambitious, but they're also not overly so. Like they're very realistic and balanced and healthy. And she tries to like make goals in different parts of her life, so professional, spiritual, personal health, finance, all these different things. And I watched her do that this year, and I watched her do the previous year. And every year I'm like, oh, I should totally do that. And every year I never do. So no. Do you?
No, you know, I got sober on New Year's Day.
That's a pretty good one.
So, I mean, it wasn't an accident that I got sober on New Year's Day, but it wasn't intentional that I got sober on New Year's Day. It just happened to be that New Year's Eve 2014 was a ripper. And I spent a lot of time reflecting on my sobriety around that time. So it's not necessarily a resolution as much as it is like a visitation, a revisitation of some of those feelings and sort of where I was at. And yeah.
I like this. We're being challenged. Can you tell the story about Greenhouse, or is it only gear talk?
Yeah. Only gear. No. Yeah. What's the story behind Greenhouse? So we were writing for what we didn't realize at the time, but what was going to become Let It Lie. And Dave brought these verses to the table: "You're a cold day in August, you're a field, run fallow, your heart-shaped box, no letter inside." He had this beautiful opening. I think even 2 verses. I can't remember.
I think that's all I had. We put everything else together.
Yeah, I can't remember what are the next lyrics. I can't remember.
I don't remember there.
Anyway, doesn't matter. And your idea was this. It was a story about a person, and Greenhouse is fictional for us. And the idea originally that Dave came to the table with was this: it's a story about a person who's struggling, and then the narrator, which is us as the writers, is trying to lift up their friend. And we kept trying to sort of write this story, and we couldn't kind of get there. And little by little, the verses started to progress in a way, and it was like, and it just kind of hit us. Like before we got to the chorus, writing the chorus, it was, it kind of hit us like, well, maybe this is actually, this is somebody trying to encourage somebody out of darkness, but from beyond the grave. And then the story just sort of started to almost unravel itself from that point. And the really beautiful thing about that song is that it's not necessarily our story directly, but it's become a lot of other people's stories. And then somebody will come up to us at a show or send us an email or something and say, hey, this is what this song means to me. And now that's what that song is about, for those people and for us. And so it's a I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think, well, sure. I mean, yeah, you nailed it on the head. Hit the nail on the head. That song was probably the most extreme experience I've had with like really feeling like a song or a story is revealing itself to you. It like, sometimes when you're writing songs, you're really making stuff up. Like you're like in the sandbox, like trying to create and craft things. And this song, it always sticks out to me as it felt like it was just appearing in front of us. It was like gradually showing itself to us. It was a very, very cool, very interesting experience. And I remember it like as the story progressed, because it got darker and darker and heavier and heavier. And ultimately the song, we wrote it from the position of somebody who's committed suicide and has left these people behind. And it was not our intention going into that recession. I remember just the heaviness and the weight of that when it was done, just feeling like so rocked. But it was also such a neat and meaningful experience to just have that song appear. And then realizing that it is connected with all these people consistently was just like, wow, this song really was meant to happen. And it felt really lucky that we were able to be the ones that could sort of bring it into the world. And I haven't felt that way since with a song quite like that. Have had some that feel like they fall out in one fell swoop or feel really inspired, but nothing quite like that. Yeah, very cool. Thanks for asking.
Oh, that's a good question, Dave. Joel Shad Bolt says, are you still sober, and how has it affected your creativity? Yes, I'm still sober. Be 6 years this year on New Year's Day. Dave is also sober. I can't remember, end of August 29. August 29 is your sober day?
August 28, 29, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the question so I can pop it up here, but here it is.
Yeah, I'm still sober. How does it affected my creativity? That's a really big question. Because I think it wanders into a territory that some people might not want to might not actually want to talk about. But I think it's done amazing things for my creativity. I think I lived a lot of untruths about drinking and substance abuse and other things that I abused and continue to abuse and continue to try and work on. Namely, right now it's food. I think it's pandemic related, but also just lean on vices, I guess. But for me, initially it was hard. It was hard to wrap my head around being sober and making music, but that was because I was drunk most of the time. So it was hard for me to wrap my head around doing lots of things without having at least a drink in me. So, it became pretty clear the further I went into sobriety that this was a better place for me to be, better place to create from, better place to be a partner from, better place to be a bandmate from. There's nothing I regret about being sober. It wasn't easy, that's for sure. But there's nothing that I lost. And I think it can be easy to feel like you are going to lose this edge. And I think for me, the question then became, well, what is it? What do I get from alcohol that makes me feel more comfortable? That's the thing you have to think about. And you your guard is down. You're a little more for me, I was a little more comfortable being vulnerable. And so that was the thing that I then had to start working on, and continually I'm working on, how do I get to the headspace where I can share? So anyway, I mean, it's a big conversation, I think, but I hope that says something. Dave, you have lots of insight on this as well.
Sure. I mean, I feel like we get a chance to talk about it fairly. It's nice. It's just nice to let you wrap on it. I mean, I think we have, as much as we've shared, we also have very different experiences because we're just different people.
Yeah.
So it means slightly different things. It means a lot of the same things, but it also has its own sort of particulars because we're just different human beings.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, TD says, "Hope you're well, dudes. Thanks for doing these." Yeah, we're well. Thank you very much. TD just bought us 2 fancy coffees, and we appreciate the snot out of that.
Yeah.
Man, so many good questions back here. That was a great one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
You let me know if you see anything, Joe.
Larry Lash in the house. Hey, Larry, how are you? Jason Isbell had a similar realization / escape and sings about it. Yeah.
Yeah, he did, and how beautifully he sings about it so wonderfully too.
Yeah.
Cover Me Up.
Yeah.
What a song. Holy hell.
I
think Rami's teasing us a little bit, but there's more truth to that than I care to admit. Did you guys have this grand master plan to be inseparable by being in the same band, both getting married and have babies all around the same time? Yeah, but kinda, like not entirely, but also sort of.
There definitely were conversations that happened between Dave and Roberta and Anna and I when, I think when we decided that we were going to start trying to get pregnant, and we told Dave and Roberta, like, maybe I'm making this up, but I'm pretty sure Roberta went, "Oh yes, that means I have a little more time before."
Yes.
Dave,
that happened.
Dave and I are really close in age. We're like a year and a half, just a little more than year and a half apart. And
20 months.
We kind of, I've always kind of dreamt about recreating that sort of age gap between my kids as close as I can, because Dave's my best friend. I would love for my kid to at least be in the position to have that same kind of relationship. You never know if they're actually going to like each other or not, but yeah. So I don't know, and then having my kid be close in age to my nephew is really cool because I was really close in age to a lot of my cousins, and yeah. Intentional? Yeah. Not intentional.
Not intentional, but considered. It was all considered. I mean, the fact that we're in a band together was born from the fact that we weren't spending time together. It's going back a long ways. It was 2012 when we first started talking about it, and I was touring
even been further back than that, like 2011.
Maybe. Hey, was it that far back? I mean, almost 10 years. But at the time, we were both side musicians playing for different artists and on very different circuits, touring very different circuits. And we were spending a lot of time on the road, but we weren't seeing each other at all. And that's why we started this band, was so that we didn't mean to start the band. We just wanted to have an excuse to sort of put our heads together when we were both in the same city and write some music and make some noise.
The original idea for the band was just Dave and I to go around festivals in southern Manitoba and do a little playing together. It was never supposed to be the main thing, but yeah. Jennifer Dirkson's asking what's our favorite cup of fancy coffee. This is mine, Little Sister.
Yeah, mine too. Little Sister.
There's a lot of great coffee shops in Winnipeg. Little Sister, Tom Bargain, Parlor. Fourth is no more, right?
Fourth remains.
Fourth remains?
I think so.
Oh.
I mean, not everybody's open. Not everybody's been open during the pandemic.
All right. Okay. Well, I apologize to Fourth. There's a lot of great coffee shops in town.
Yeah. I think we both lived in, there's a part of Winnipeg called Osborne Village, and Joey and I both lived there for a minute at the same time. I lived there for 10 years. No, 8 years. And, but there was a coffee shop that was 200 meters from my front door, and that was Little Sister. So I have a special affinity there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they dope. How can I donate?
I actually, how do you donate? Can somebody
I don't quite know.
Comments how you leave how you donate? I think it's just YouTube. I think it's a
YouTube thing, and I think you can do these super questions where you like post a question or a comment and then you like boost it. I don't really fully understand it, and it is certainly not our intention to run this thing for donations. We sure don't mind, because we do like fancy bougie coffee, and let's admit it, we're on that lockdown salary. But please don't feel obliged. We really appreciate it, but do not feel obliged.
Luis says, any plans for Mexico when the pandemic ends? Man, I would love to.
Where do you see that, Joe?
That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the bottom.
Oh, that's kind of Mexico. I would love. There's a bunch of places that we've never toured that I would love to get to eventually. We seem to have a ton of friends in Brazil. We're getting comments from Brazilian fans left, right, and center. So I imagine at some point we will pack up our families and our instruments and go play in Brazil.
Other than the U.S.
What's that?
We have to go more souther than the U.S.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of places in the U.S. we've never been to that we will get to eventually. Mexico City, anywhere in Mexico, in fact, the wide country of Mexico would be fantastic.
I've never been to Mexico, not in my whole life. I've been.
No way.
Yeah.
I've only ever done like the resorty towns, and I don't feel like that's a fair picture of what a place is really like, because it's a very curated sort of experience. I'm told Mexico City is out of this world. I'd love to see it.
Dan Anderson, 4 from the bottom, Dave says, hey guys, how's the Canadian government helped out musicians through the COVID situation? Canadian government has done awesome. I mean, I think there's definitely people who are critical. But I mean, at the beginning of the pandemic, they had an incentive where they gave it anyone who sort of qualified as a gigging worker. So not even just musician, but also servers and stuff. They were giving everybody $2,000 a month, and now it's $1,800 a month because they keep 10%. But it's really amazing. We're very, very fortunate, and it's the thing that's kept me alive for sure.
Yeah, for sure, it is floating us through. I don't know what we would do without it. Actually, well, I mean, it would just be a lot harder. It'd be a lot tougher, and there's no other work. I mean, if there was a chance to go out and do something that wasn't music, but there are no jobs. There's very little to be done, sadly. Yeah. And then also there have been some really great organizations that have supported us as well. We have, I mean, if you don't live in Canada, this is going to may sound just insane, and especially for our American friends I know who don't have a lot of this kind of support. But like, we have a provincial music organization, Music Industry Association. And we also have a provincial arts funder. We have 2 provincial arts funders, and they've all been very generous, either like with straight up relief programs where you just apply, and if you meet the eligibility, they send you some dough to help you through, or they've created some grant streams where you can go and take on very specific projects, and they're basically looking for excuses to funnel money into the arts to keep us rolling. So I know it's polarizing. I don't want to get into politics. We deliberately kind of steer clear of getting into politics because that's not really what this is about. But I will say that from my little narrow field of view, I am grateful for the support the government has done with the arts. I mean, there's always more to be done, but I can't help but look out at a lot of folks who don't have any and think, well, shit, something's better than nothing.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I mean, yeah, very, very grateful. Thanks for the question.
Cool question.
Yeah. I think this might be a typo, or maybe not. I think this is the first time I've witnessed Dave's beard being longer than Dave's. Whoa! Alchemistical Adventures is asked a couple times about the Stereo Bus Trio. That is Meg Dolovich, who is present in here. I think I saw her trolling us maybe earlier, potentially. And Ryan Voth on the drum kit. And somebody was also asking if Meg is still making music. Yes, absolutely she is. Although nobody's doing a whole hell of a lot of anything right now.
Yeah, but that's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Meg's awesome. Everybody say hi to Meg Dolovich. Hi, Meg.
Hi, Meg. Hello, Meg. I'm just going to highlight that because I like it so much. I actually hit a moment where I was just like, why am I even... I was trying to keep my beard trimmed, and I got a haircut in July. I was like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I'm going feral.
I've been rocking the stubble and mow look for the last couple months, and like literally yesterday was like, who gives an actual shit? I said to Anna, I came into the bedroom, was like, I'm not cutting my hair or shaving anymore. That's it.
Why?
Who cares?
You got to impress.
You don't care.
Great catch. Yes.
Hey, Paul. Yeah. How are you?
Paul has been a longtime supporter of the band. We've had some really, really awesome pen pal conversations over email over the years. One of the first folks from overseas that sort of glammed onto what we were doing. So nice to see you, Paul. And at the end of going to the country, we quote. I guess that's a quote. Would you say that's a quote? Yeah, that's a quote. Mm-hmm. One of our favorite Chris Whitley records. A moment on one of our first. I am a huge Chris Whitley fan. I love his music. And that record, I think, had a pretty big impact on both of us.
Yeah, massive.
Probably one of the first big Roots records that we really dug into. I mean, musically, I was always a step behind Joe. So whatever he was listening to, I was getting into him. I was getting into it after he was done with it, because we had CDs at the time. We were CDs and cassettes and stuff. So when he was done with it, then I would steal it and listen through it. So you got that one first, and then I glammed onto it.
Yeah. Mark Wheeler, back at 1 o'clock and 26 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Roberta's artwork is wonderful. I especially like the art on Hindsight. Would be cool to be able to get prints. Man, that's a great idea.
Yeah, cool idea.
If we made like poster size prints, maybe even like went crazy with the gold and stuff, would people be interested in that? Is that something that you'd want? Could be cool.
Some of my favorite. That's some of my favorite. I mean, I'm biased, tremendously biased, but and I thought the 87 artwork was really badass too, but I still think the Hindsight, everything about that artwork was so strong. Like you could distill it to all these little themes that ran through the singles and then the actual cover, and they all played into each other so nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like every piece of that could have been a tattoo, could have been like a really fantastic tattoo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really Roberta has like now that we've made a bunch of records, and she's done the design on a bunch of records, and obviously she's done probably hundreds, if not thousands, of designs by now. She has this incredible way of just picking like little tiny things from here or there, like for example, my fuzz collab with Mythos, for example, the High Road Fuzz, we wanted to do something in conjunction with forgiveness, and she came up with the name High Road Fuzz. Take the high road, like let it go, forgive people. That's where that came from. And I was like, I don't know, when you call it like Fuzzy Beast, Fuzzy Wuzzy, I don't know what the hell to call it. And it was like, I want to tie it in with forgiveness because I want to use the artwork on it. And Roberta said, well, what about the High Road Fuzz or the olive branch? Or, you know, she had all these really, you know, great ideas. And yeah, she's just got this way. Her latest design on the Steve Bell record. Steve is one of one of my and one of our mentors. Steve and his manager and his whole team of people have been really paramount in helping us along since the early days. And she designed the artwork on Steve's new record, and he made sure I got a copy of it. And we were sort of talking back and forth, and he was like, yeah, I didn't give her any feedback. I just gave her the music, and this is what she came forward with. It's like incredible.
It's
anyway,
base question, Joey. Joey, you can go for a coffee. Marty's asking, base nerd question, decision-making process and using the Mulan instead of the Duesenberg on the Cat Stevens sessions. So if you haven't seen them, we did 2 songs for a Cat Stevens festival. They're up on YouTube and they're up on wherever you get music. Actually, we uploaded them. And we're really proud of them. They turned out really well. I wound up playing the Mulan into Marty's Portaflex. Actually, thank you, Marty, for letting me look after your gear. And I had these pieces of foam, in fact, which when I'm on the phone, I just sort of like, whatever, I just play with them because
if you don't stop thinking, it'll never heal.
So these are under the bridge, and there actually was no forethought into that. I was, and often that's kind of how it works too. Is I kind of just reach for something, and if it feels right, then I don't put it down. And with those sessions, the way they came together was we were rehearsing in the big room at Stereo Bus, and I just got grabbed whatever was handy, and the Mulan was the first thing there, so I snatched it and we plugged in and started making some noise. And Paul Yee walked into the room and was just like, oh wait, this sounds really good. And then he just started placing microphones. So it was like, we didn't really have a chance to think about it. He was just like, this works. Whatever you're doing is working really well. Just let me put some microphones up. And that was that. So I didn't even think to change it. So yeah, good question. That's how it came about.
Nice.
Oh, no Nordy mute. No Nordy mute on the Mulan. It's too extreme. It's a little too Peter Gabriel, so it's not always the most appropriate. I'm just looking for some questions here. I wanted to ask. Oh, here's one. The band. What are y'all's thoughts on the band? I'm assuming the band. When you say the band, you mean the band. The band.
Like capital B band.
Yeah, specifically, which album of theirs is your favorite?
I don't really know the discography all that well. I'm a big fan, but I'm not like not the way that you would like, not the way I am with other records, you know. I mean, I think the band is sort of trickled in for me sort of song by song. But you?
Yeah. I mean, my introduction to them was through The Last Waltz. And so that to me has always been kind of the seminal album when I think of the band, just because that was my entry point. Music from the Big Pink was a favorite. I really like that one too. But I do think the live Scorsese movie was really when I think of the band, that's what I think about. I think about those interviews, that candid behind the stage stuff, and those wild performances, and Neil Young looking like he just got hit by a dump truck, like
cocaine on his face.
Yeah.
Different times.
Just looking for questions. Mm-hmm. Oh, here's one, Joe.
Oh, great question. How involved was Dave in the making of Joey Lee's solo records? Well, Dave played on Whiskey. Dave played bass on Whiskey. And then Hindsight, Meg Dolovich played bass. But you wrote on a bunch of those tunes. You wrote on Still Driving. You wrote on Letting You Go. Did you not? Yeah, you did. And then what was the other one you wrote?
You know what? I always have to check because I don't remember. The
Wrote on Letting You Go for sure, because we started writing that like in 2015 when we did that SoCan write. Do you remember you when I was still living in Toronto, you came to Toronto to do some writing, I think actually for Whiskey, potentially.
Yes, some of that stuff wound up there. It always does though. Like the little snippets and ideas always get borrowed and transplanted to new music.
Yeah.
Bum bum bum.
Oh, Heart of Heart.
Heart of Hearts. Heart of Hearts. I was on that one too.
You came in you came in after we had written Heart of Hearts, and you were like, all right, boys, some of these lyrics don't make sense.
Did I? I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
One of the when I talk about Dave's editing skills, that was one of those tunes where you came in and were like, none of this shit makes sense. We got to rewrite this. So that's how you wound up on there. You rescued us from sounding dumb, I guess.
Production question, Andrew.
All of our music has been made in a professional studio.
Yeah.
Whether I do the engineering or someone else does it is another thing. Yeah. So Paul Yee, Don Benedictson. Who else has done engineering for us?
What's his name? Bass player from Toronto.
John Dinsmore. John Dinsmore. The first half of Hindsight. But we what we wind up doing most of the time is the hardest thing, in my opinion, to record are drums. Like they're really complicated to get right. So we always trust a real pro for that kind of stuff. But then most of the overdubs we do. Ourselves.
Yeah.
So
and that's been
in a commercial studio. Well, commercial. It's not commercial because I don't record for other people. But just so if you want to see, there's my ISO booth with my. I don't think you can see my Leslie in the back, and there's two guitar cabs on the other side of those gobos there. Yeah, here's like a little view of the studio. It's a little messy at the moment, but yeah.
Whoa, that makes me dizzy.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one. Totally off the beaten track. I know you do some boxing. Who's your favorite boxer? Great question. Old school boxers? Joe, do you have any favorites?
I don't know anybody's names. I'm not like a big I've never followed sports super closely, but man, I can't remember. There's a redheaded dude from Mexico who is, and he's quite famous, quite amazing. I can't remember his name, but I really like him. He's the kind of guy that like people will take swings at him and he just kind of and then lights up. Somebody will know his name.
Yep. I like Canelo. I think he's so cool. What's that?
Is that who I'm talking about?
I think so. He's like he's like, I don't even know. He has like some sort of sixth sense.
Yeah.
He's
Canelo Alvarez.
I've never seen anybody slip punches like that dude, and he hits so hard. I like Muhammad Ali and Tyson for like classic boxers. I love that Tyson's making a comeback. I think that's just the most wonderful thing. It's just insane. I don't really follow boxing super close.
What's that famous dude from the Philippines? I watch a lot of his.
Oh yes, yeah, he's incredible. He's a lightweight guy.
His name is right here.
Yeah, I don't follow it super closely, and I'm a little squeamish. I'm not really into like blood sports necessarily, but I like boxing because we got into it and started. I actually have come to really enjoy it. Funny that you mentioned this. Manny Pacquiao. I had a dream last night that the gym was open again. Their boxing gym was open, and I was so disappointed when I woke up.
And I mean, the boxing thing for us, I think, is more of like it's a great workout. Although you got into sparring, I don't really love getting hit. You know, like so I'm not really there. Like I love boxing. I enjoy like trying to work on the skill, but I don't actually ever want to get in the ring and fight somebody. But I like I like the workout, and I love the people. Like the boxing gym is such a great environment, especially Pan Am in Winnipeg. Like it is not what I expected the first time I went to a boxing gym, or, because I'm not a really competitive dude. I mean, I think I am quite competitive, but I'm not like not driven. Yeah, anyway, whatever. Who gives a shit? But I was just really surprised at how open and welcoming it was, and people were really supportive and positive, and a lot of men and women. So it wasn't just like a bunch of dudes getting all testosterone. It was it was really great. Anyway,
And I'm really fond of our gym. They are a non-profit organization, and they run a transitional housing for men that are in various states of
at-risk
what's
youth.
at-risk youth, and they're just working on opening up one for women as well. I just think it's a really cool organization.
Yeah.
The heart and the spirit of it is in a really cool place, and makes it easy to support. And I think that's reflected in the folks who go to the gym. It's really diverse. It's a cool slice of people. I don't know. I'm partial. I think anybody who goes to a gym like that, you become a little partial to your gym. Some loyalty there. Phil says, you must be sad to hear that the Bella Vista has closed in Winnipeg. Armin sold it finally. So
what a drag.
The Bella Vista is a little Italian restaurant on the corner of Wolseley and Maryland in Winnipeg, and it was a bit of an institution for us growing up. We saw so much music there. Our dad had a house gig on Wednesdays with Scott Nolan.
Yeah, Wednesday.
So we grew up going to watch him play on Wednesday nights. Amazing pizza, really, really like dated decor. But it was just like, it was an institution, and there's so much good music that came out of there. That's where we met Paul Yee for the first time. He was playing in bands with Rudimental, and he was in Scott Nolan's band at some point too. I think Dad took over for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I was sad to hear. That that's closing down.
Yeah.
I guess nothing.
It's absolutely epic pizza.
Yes, such good pizza.
Its own vibe pizza. Yeah.
Nothing lasts forever, and I think that's what makes it special, is that these places don't. And Armin, I think he just retired. The guy who owned it was just like, I'm done. I've had a long run. I don't know the entire story, but he ran that place for a good long time. So I think, I'll remember it really fondly. It was a really important part of us growing up and being surrounded by music. And
also one of the bars that we would sneak into to watch music until Armin figured out that we were underage. And Wally, how old are your kids? You're not supposed to ask me that, Armin. I got to ask you, Wally, how old are your kids? Yeah, so 15 and 17. Can't come in here, Wally. Or at least we couldn't be in the front part of the room.
Yeah, the front part of the room was the bar, and the back part was the restaurant. So, yeah, they stuck this in. Pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh, Pippa wants to know, do you both sing lead on Runaway Train? I'm sure there are two different voices. The other voice is our dad. Hey, James. Yeah. Nice to see you on this thing. I'm not seeing you literally, but, nice to see your name, man. Very old friend. Not that you're very old, but you've been a very good friend for a long time. All right, I'm done.
Peyton says, if I can throw in another question here. Yes, you may. Absolutely. I've been looking at getting a hollow body bass. Any recommendations or things to watch out for when it comes to the semi-hollow stuff? P.S. I love your fills. I don't have it here. Joey, you have it there. Would you show it to the class? I have a semi-hollow Duesenberg that I just cannot recommend enough. It is, I think, yeah, there it is. What is that, Joey? It's a star player.
Yes.
It's a short scale. It's a wacky looking thing. It is so fun to play.
Bet you didn't know I could do that, did you?
That's everything I know about playing the bass right there.
Shut up.
Wicked instruments. There are a lot of really cool vintage hollow bodies out there. Like if you can get your hands on, like an old Hofner President or something like that, or the Beetle basses and stuff. But they often come with a lot of like sort of finicky things about them. They're hard to set up. They don't necessarily play in tune. Pickups are noisy, stuff like that. If you can find a great one, I mean, they're pretty special. They're pretty vibey, but I think that the Duesenberg is like a really great modern version of that like plays amazingly, sets up perfectly, will play in tune for you. Pickups are huge sounding, like really nice alternative.
Yeah.
Marty loves that bass. Every time I play it, he's like, dude, that bass, that's you.
It's such a great bass.
I'm really happy about
it. KJ Photo has been asking this question. It's come up a number of times. So sorry that we missed you earlier. When was the last time you played guitar in standard tuning? And do you still know your way around a guitar setup like that? Yesterday. Played guitar in standard tuning yesterday. And yeah, I'm still okay in standard tuning. I'm not as comfortable though. Definitely more comfortable in open E, D, or C. And Andrew wants to know about Champagne James. Yeah, he makes his own music. Although I don't know if he's got any solo records out, but he's a brilliant guitar player from Toronto. He plays in a band with Colin Cripps called CNC Surf Factory, which I got to go and see a bunch of times when I was still living there. And it's super, super fun. But he also plays with Lindy Ortega, or did play with Lindy Ortega. I don't know if he's still with her, but just great guitar player. And yes, he is the person who introduced me to open C tuning.
I was up in Saskatoon, right? Or north of Saskatoon, whatever that festival is.
Ness Creek.
Ness Creek.
That's when I met James. Yeah. I love 66 Deluxe. And he said, oh, we should jam tomorrow. And then we got together and he's like, here, this is my slide guitar. And that was open C walking into my life. And then I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I texted him about, I don't know, texted him about 2 or 3 weeks later and was like, man, would it roast you if I borrowed that? And he said, no, man, go for it. I didn't invent it.
Yeah, that's good attitude. That's a good attitude.
Yeah. Credit where credit is due, my friend.
Yes. Joey, you seen this question from Mark Wheeler?
You talk openly about your guitar, which is awesome. Thank you. Can you tell us a little about your singing, how you've nurtured your tone and control it? If/how you work it on it in a specific way. Yeah, I feel like my voice is a constant work in progress, and over the years, it has kind of changed. Like I think if you even hear the way I sang on Let It Live versus the newer stuff, you can hear pretty significant. At least I can hear a significant difference between the two. But I treat it like an instrument, so I do scales and arpeggios, and something I've been really focusing on this year is ascending scales, because it's actually quite a bit harder to sing up than it is down. So just working on the technique to like have good airflow and support, and tone. Like, it's so hard to talk about singing because it's not in your hands, that you can't see the instrument and adjust. Well, if my hand is, I don't know if you can you see my hand? My hand is doing a weird thing, then I can kind of get comfy this way. You can't really do that with your voice. So you really have to try to be super present and imagine, use different sort of imaginative tricks to sort of visualize where your voice is sitting. And yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about that and where to place it, where to place certain vowels in my mouth and stuff like that. It's pretty finicky little doohickey.
There's the quote of the day. The voice, a pretty finicky little doohickey.
Finicky little doohickey, if I don't say so myself, man.
I like this comment from John. If your voice is still a work in progress, the rest of us are really screwed. That's how I feel, John. I mean, Jesus, I hear you.
Stop.
I clicked on that accidentally, but that's also cool.
Yes. Joao was one of my students and a wonderful guy. And we are working on the Bach cello, the we're working on
Prelude in G.
Although I think we're doing it in D just because it sits a little better.
Yeah.
Meg says,
Yeah.
over drone. Yes, like almost every day. In fact, should I demonstrate that maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Let me open up some stuff here.
Yeah, there's an album on all the streaming services you can find that's just cello drones. I think there's actually a couple of them, but I've always got one saved on a playlist that I can pull up while I'm driving or just about anywhere else.
Yeah. I really like the drones for intonation work.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, so playing a drone and then trying to sing different intervals. Here we go. Let's see, where is the drone? Can you hear that?
Yeah. Turn it down.
Too loud.
Too loud.
Too effing loud. Okay. How's that?
That's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just little scales and stuff, and I would hone in on like different intervals, trying to tune. I found myself like singing fourths really sharp, like just whatever it was in my head. I was imagining that the note was a lot higher than it actually is. So I would go to the drone and sing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, 3. Just like really kind of fine tune sort of and try to retrain my brain where I heard it. That's kind of the stuff that I work on.
Cool.
With. Yeah.
Here's one from Sean. Bless your heart, Sean.
What pedal do I need? And have a coffee, guys. Oh, Sean, that's 2 coffees.
That's 2 coffees.
What pedal do you need? You know what? R2R electric treble booster. I feel like I sounded extra Canadian. Treble booster. R2R electric treble booster. Very cool pedal made by Chris Vincent in California. And he makes really, really great sort of like vintage inspired things.
Do you have it on your board right now, or can you show it to the folks?
I do. Can you guys see it? Yeah, that's it right there.
Oh, hey, that's a substantial little doohickey.
Yeah, this is my current pedal board right now.
So you got 2 of those things. What's the one beside it?
That is he makes this thing called the vintage wah, which is actually just this. This is the wah guts, and then it's controlled by the pedal.
Right.
But all vintage parts, and the expression pedal itself uses a vintage pot, so it like feels like an old wah pedal and everything. So, yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's really, really killer. I think initially he designed it to be able to set just the pot in one position, so you could kind of get that like money for nothing tone, like the cocked wah thing. But I'm maybe I'm getting this timeline wrong, but I feel like maybe somebody suggested that you also be able to control it with an expression, so you could just use it like a normal wah, which is why it's in a box instead of in the actual wah encasement, because I think it was initially intended to be something different.
I want to go to Carrie's question here about Liam, because I like talking about Liam and I miss him.
Ah, yes.
Thanks. Carrie Bilkowski is asking, talk a little bit about Liam Duncan. That guy's fantastic. I couldn't agree more. Liam Duncan is a dude that we met along with some other really fantastic young musicians. He started off in a band called the Middle Coast, which was him and Roman Clark and Dylan McDonald, and they've all gone on to have really, really cool solo careers. And Liam's been playing in our band for the last couple of years, and has been playing piano and singing, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful complementary musician. He's sensitive in his playing and is just a wonderful person to share the stage with. But his solo project is what's really fantastic. He put out a record. What was it? When did the first record come out? Came out before ours. If I Don't Feel Better, it's called.
Yeah.
And I super recommend you check it out if you haven't heard it already. and he's now moved into a new creative phase that has given him a bit of a facelift. But he's now going by a moniker Boy Golden, and we're putting out his new record on our record label. So I'm obviously a little biased, but it's such a good album, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. He's been sharing little snippets of demos and stuff on his social media, and it's just such a cool record. It's so unique. He has he's developed his own voice, and all those guys actually, Roman, Liam, Dylan, they've all very quickly established their own voice, which is something that I'm just so inspired by, because I feel like it took us a long time to get there. And those guys seem to come out of the gate in relatively short order and discover it, and are already at the point where they're just so capable of wielding that songwriting skill as an instrument. They're developing it, they're honing it, they're experimenting with it. It's just so inspiring to see guys that are that early in their career that are just putting out such cool shit. That makes me very happy. So, and he cut himself a mullet to go along with the new record, which is serious commitment.
Really get behind that, but
it's okay. We're old.
I don't get it. I love you, Liam. I love you so much.
There's all kinds of bass questions here, so I'm going to just pick one. Lots of great bass questions. I'll pick the most recent one. Dom says, Dave, can you talk about your thought process for creating bass lines? Yeah, for sure. I think the most important thing for me when playing the bass is thinking about supporting harmony. First, I don't really think about melodies or bass lines like in a traditional sense. I don't try and write like bass hooks. Never have. I've always been inspired by people who do, but it's just not the way I approach it. And I'm really thinking about the harmony and how to anchor that in a rhythmic way. And so typically that means for me that I'm thinking of myself as I think of the bass line as the medium between the groove and the harmony. That's sort of where I sit. And typically that almost always means playing the root really strong on the downbeat. And beyond that, I really try, like when we're recording a lot of the stuff that you've heard on Bros Records, which I think is the most indicative of my playing, I think. I don't know if you agree with that, Joe, but like depending on the gig, I can put on some different hats. I can approach stuff a little more differently, if I'm playing in a dance band or if I'm playing in a blues band. But for the Bros, that is really me just making music that I want to make. And anything that you hear there has come from just experimenting with a band while we record it. It's not really preconceived. I don't come up with a lot of lines, and I'm just responding to stuff that Joey's playing, melodies, stuff that the drums are playing, and I'm sort of vibing off of that. And then probably the most sort of thought out that I'll get is that I really like to be deliberate of upending root movement in bass lines. So I like to use inversions, still strong chord tones like 3s and 5s, but that can really change the feel of a song when you go back to the 1, but the bass is playing the 3 over the root. And that can give you a very different feeling, a different sense of motion that I think I like to use. That sort of like, it's a bit of a trick. It's like a bass trick. A lot of guys do it. I'm not the only one.
Especially on the 1 chord, when you change the inversion, it really, like, if you play the 1 chord first inversion, you kind of have to go to the 4 chord. That 3 is such a strong leading tone, And you're really good at playing with the root movement and like kind of directing traffic and creating new places for things to go. And I'll say this because you can't say it about yourself, but Dave said he doesn't really play lines, and that is baloney. Just listen to the recording of Vulture Choir, either the record or the live version. Dave, you are like one of the most melodic, melodic bass players that I know. And you just have this great way of just going, and here we go, and you play something that, I don't know.
Stop it. Stop it.
Says, Dave, why do you have so many strings?
What do you mean? I don't have any. I just got 4.
You do tend to favor the bottom two, I think, is what she's. Yeah.
Right on.
The E and A string sound so much better than the D and G string, you know?
That's true.
A fantastic question from a complete stranger named Anna Salgado. Never met you before, and you're definitely not my wife. Before we get to that one, there's a question up here that just makes me want to do an impression of Coach Steve from Big Mouth. Like, what do you tell the guitar tech for action? So let's say I was talking to my friend who's a guitar tech who was also me. That's all I'm going to say about that. Those who know.
Well, you better answer your wife's question, Joey.
How has 2020 changed your perspective on touring and your careers? Yeah, I mean, it's such a great question. It has absolutely flipped everything on its head. In that, you know, we've spent. I mean, I can't actually speak to your sort of time on the road, Dave, but I've spent almost 20 years on the road. Like, I started traveling when I was 15, and been pretty much traveling consistently ever since. And it's just sort of built over time to the point where, you know, 2019, leading up to 2019, the years before 2019, there were most of those years I was gone more than I was home. And that was just sort of something that I've personally have accepted, that that's just sort of this time in my life means I'm traveling a lot. I'm away from home a lot. And I truly do enjoy it. And I don't know, but 2020 has grounded all of us. And the perspective that I've gained is that I want to spend more time at home. Like, I love traveling. I love doing my job, but I want to be close to my family. And I don't think I'll ever go back to being away more than I'm home. I don't think I'll ever do that again.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah. And that's not to say that I don't absolutely love being on the road. I do. Yeah.
Well put. Tremendously well put.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another person that we have to answer a question from because she brought us into the world. Oh, and my mom's profile picture is my boy.
Hi, Mom.
Who is not sleeping, who has not been sleeping. I'm afraid to find out that I've been keeping him up this whole time.
What doesn't kill you makes you strong.
Mom asks, how do you go about choosing the songs on your set list? That's a good question. We spend a lot of time honing our set list, like a tremendous amount of time. I know some bands have like deep set lists, and every night they play a whole different line of tunes. But we spend so much time crafting the arc of our live show.
Mm-hmm.
And what it usually ends up with is a pretty concrete roadmap for how the experience is going to go down. Meg says, pick the ones you dislike the least. Yeah, that comes into it. But, you know, like, I mean, all facetiousness aside, like, it's not always the songs you think that need to be on the set list that wind up there, because they don't all translate the same live. Mm-hmm. Songs that we love and that are favorites off the records, they don't always come off the stage, and they don't always have a place in the set list that really makes them shine. It's such a weird little piece of black magic, getting a great set list together.
Mm-hmm. And I think what we've been able to do now in these years, sort of more recent years, because we have more records, we have more songs to choose from, is that there are certain positions in the set list that will swap things out. You know, a handful of songs can sort of fulfill the same job in terms of controlling that arc, which we didn't have that before. So we almost always played the same show. But yeah, it's really, really important that there's a lot of dynamic built into the set, a lot of dynamic in the actual songs themselves. You know, the louds are loud and the quiets are really, really quiet. And then this, so we don't want to bash you over the head for too long. So if there's a couple of loud songs, then we usually bring it down, and, you know, and in the middle of the set, we usually bring it all the way down, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a couple of devices that we go to. One day, I imagine that someday, you know, we'll have so many songs. Well, eventually, I mean, we're quickly getting there. We're getting to the point where a bandwidth has enough songs that we'll have to play some different set lists. Oh, guys, I'm just watching my baby's going down to sleep. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh,
Roberta's putting Finno down.
Night Fan. Oh.
I think he's awake. Oh, he's so sweet. Andrew Plassman from Sweetwater. Merry Christmas, guys. When you eventually make it out to Fort Wayne and visit Sweetwater, I'll take you out to dinner. Hope you enjoy the holidays with the fam. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thanks,
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for that.
Into the band.
Here's one for you, Joe. You seen it?
Yeah. The bass is never, ever, ever ahead. It is literally incapable of playing on top.
Yeah,
in a nice way, in a great way. He's got the perfect laid back feel. We've spent a lot of time recently kind of looking at that, you know, and the recordings and discovering that like Dave's amount of laid backedness is actually measurable. Yeah, very super consistent, but just laid back. But it's usually just an intuition thing. I think it's just a lot of the music that we have grown up listening to is played a certain way, and you just sort of learn that by osmosis. You know, just listen, and that's sort of what comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kiva's asking about Kevin Bright. I've never worked with him, but I'm a huge fan. Also, hi Kiva, how are you?
I'm so slow to find them. Geez, takes a minute. It's Kevin Bright. See it.
It's two from the bottom.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, massive Kevin Bright fan. If you guys are not hip to Kevin Bright, he's a just absolute wonderkind, brilliant guitar player, slide guitar player, mandolin player, just all around musician from Toronto.
What record would you recommend if somebody wants to dive into Kevin?
Oh man, there's so much good stuff. But where I first got into Kevin Bright was he has a band called the Sisters Euclid, and they had a record called Faith Cola, and that's got some of my favorite playing on it. There's also they did a tribute to Neil Young called Run Neil Run, and I was reduced to absolute rubble. The first time I saw him play was at the Winnipeg Folk Festival, and they played a version of Helpless instrumental, and it was just spellbinding. I did get to meet him actually across the hall in Studio A a couple years ago. He had orange shoes on.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know, Joe, I'm gonna have to bounce soon. So maybe we'll just grab a couple more questions and then call that a day.
Yeah, for sure. Nick Metcalf, what practice routine would you recommend for improving left-hand slide technique and accuracy? Chromatic scales.
$5.
If you can kind of navigate your way through a chromatic scale in different sequences and intervals, you will have deadly intonation and patience.
Would you do
patience?
Would you do for tuning? What would you use for a reference? Would you do that over potentially do that over a cello drone or something like that?
I'm not nuts about that. Like, I think the reason I use it singing wise is because I have particular things that I struggle with that are beyond like my own hearing. Like I perceive, like I was saying, those fourths, I was perceiving them as in tune, but they were actually a little bit sharp. So that's kind of where the drone comes in handy. I much prefer the idea of trying to develop your own pitch. So I mean, I'm not saying never have a reference, but I would rather play like an open E string, for example, and then play through a major scale or a chromatic scale and compare your pitches to your open E string, and then really, you know, force yourself to try and hear it in real time. Yeah, I mean, it's certain. I certainly wouldn't say never use a drone, but just don't don't let it become too much of a crutch.
There you go. Nick, thanks for the coffee, man.
Yeah.
Bless you. Joey, when you first got into the guitar,
who was the player you really wanted to sound and play like, and how did you get into open tunings? My first guitar hero was Stevie Ray Vaughan. So I played a Strat and tried to learn every solo off of every Stevie Ray record. Yeah. And I got into open tunings initially through Sonny Landreth. That was the first time I started messing with open tunings. I guess actually through Dad, because he had when we were growing up, he had a resonator in the house that was tuned to open E or open B. And then I got back into it in my mid-20s.
Champagne James Robertson. Tip Chan on that one. Champagne James. We talked about that.
Champagne James hit me to open C, but
right.
Or initially because of Sonny, but then I got back into it when I heard Derek Trucks.
That's right. Let's pick one more question and then we'll bounce, Joe.
There's got to be another. I think there's. Somebody was asking, how do you choose between? What's the difference? Keith, I think Wilkinson was asking what the difference between the Moulin is, other than the paint job.
Those two instruments are really so. I got one here. The other one's at the studio. The white one's at the studio.
I'll grab the white one.
Sure. Keith, I'm sorry I don't have your question handy to highlight, but
you mean slaps and bass or what?
Yeah. These instruments are tremendously similar. The neck is a little more slender on that one. This one's a little chonkier. This is the one in my hands is built after a 59, and the one in Joey's hands is built after a 63. And but they sound very similar. They're definitely related. This one's a little tighter and is a little brighter. Yeah, and then just like a maple neck actually speaks a little differently. I was surprised. I expected there to be more of a difference, but they actually sound quite similar. They feel different, and they are, like, once you really get into it, they're different. But I expected them to be kind of like, wow, this is so much different, and they're not. They're both really fantastic instruments that sound kind of similar. If they're the same, how'd you trick your wife into getting another one? This one is. The guys from Moulin did me a solid on this one and helped me out with this one. So we won't get into specifics, but they helped me on this one. So it was a little bit of an easier sell. They're very generous.
Yeah. Meg Dollarich says G&L Legacy Special. That's true. That was like my first number one guitar.
I remember it.
Yeah. That's the guitar I got electrocuted in.
Yeah. Oh, Gaz is in the chat. Hey, Gaz. Glad you were here, man. Miss you a lot.
Yeah.
Miss all of you, friends, all of our friends near and far, the ones that we only see we're on the road, and the ones that we normally see all the time. I miss all of you people. Mm-hmm. Joey, I miss you.
I miss you too.
Jesus.
I'm really looking forward to when we can lick this damn pandemic and get back to work and safely and responsibly.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it this week. This week was a tough one for some reason. Just like really struggled with motivation, really missing my friends and family. But I do feel like it's the good fight. So that is the one thing.
Yeah. I get why we're doing it, and I think it's super important. And my heart is heavy. My heart is definitely heavy too. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. The second wave. At the first part of the year, it felt more manageable, and this it's just like, it's starting to weigh on me. And watching my friends really struggle. I think I've been pretty lucky. Bert and I have been pretty lucky. We got a new kid at home. We've got plenty of loving distractions to pour ourselves into, but watching my friends that don't and that are really struggling, that's been tough. And then finally hitting the wall ourselves, and just just all this year of like not being a part of each other's lives in a way that we're really accustomed to has been really tough.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Get there.
So with that in mind,
on that note,
on that note, I mean, hey, it's real, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, take good care of yourselves, everybody. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than that. Take good care of yourselves and walk with love.
Yeah. Be kind, be patient, and especially with yourselves. Hang in there. And we'll do this again at some point next week. Keep your eyes peeled on the socials. We'll let you know when it is, and we'll do this again. This has become a highlight of my week. I really look forward to hanging out with all you guys and shooting the breeze with my baby brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Saturdays it seemed to be a pretty good day to do it. So
yeah.
Unless we post otherwise, we'll probably meet you all back here next Saturday.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. We'll be thinking about you and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Yeah. Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.